I have a confession. I am terrible at remembering people's names. Now, I know I'm not the only one with this problem, but it can make many situations very awkward. Now, just take, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I went to go eat lunch with one of my friends in Shocker Hall, and we sat across from a couple of his friends. We kind of had a little conversation, and then the girl sitting across from me says, "Your name is Jessica, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But I'm sitting there thinking, why does this girl know my name? Who is she? How does she just know who I am? We just said like 2 sentences to each other. And I was kind of sitting there thinking for a while, and she could tell probably by the confused look on my face that I didn't know who she was. And she said, we had orientation together. And then I felt like a big jerk because she remembered who I was, but I couldn't remember who she was. And I remembered her, but I couldn't remember her name for anything. And it just left a very bad situation there. So remembering a person's name is a skill that can be done within a few steps. And I've been studying this for the past couple weeks now, and I feel like this topic kind of applies to my life because I do have a hard time remembering people's names. So today in my speech, I will be covering 3 main points. The first being the psychology behind remembering a person's name, the second, actual steps to remembering a person's name, and the third, the awkward situation when you do forget someone's name. Alright, so let's move on to my first main point, the psychology behind remembering a person's name, or why remembering a person's name is actually important. According to Trisha Drevitz, who wrote the article, Why It's Important to Remember People's Names, she says that when someone remembers your name, you feel valued, appreciated, and respected. Also, it shows interest and courtesy. So you all can think we've all met people before, and hopefully they've remembered your name, and it makes you feel just like they actually care for you and they actually care about meeting you and wanting to be your friend or whatever. So now that we've talked about the psychology behind learning a person's name, we're going to move on to actually remembering their names. So like I said, when I was studying this topic, I saw many lists on how to remember someone's name. So what I did kind of here was I compiled all these lists and I took probably what I thought was the best steps and kind of put it into my own little 5 kind of steps to remembering someone's name. So the first was giving your full attention when you meet someone, because your brain will associate their name with their face. And if you're meeting someone, for example, if you give them your attention, you'll learn more about them and you'll learn their name easier, and your face will kind of recognize that. And here I just kind of have just people meeting each other at just a basic stock photo, I guess I thought would work. And you can tell they're into each other, I guess, when they're meeting and they're being attentive to each other. All right, so my second step was repeating the name in the conversation. So if you really want to remember someone's name, it's good to have repetition because it gets embedded into your brain and you'll remember it a lot easier. Right. Third is associating the name with an object. And Darlene Price, the author of Well Said, Presentations and Conversations That Get Results, suggested that in order to remember a person's name, you can rhyme their name with an object. And her example was the name Jeff, and she learned that Jeff liked to cook. So she said that Jeff was a chef. That's how she helped remember his name, because he liked to cook, and a chef cooks, and that rhymes with Jeff. So it made it all easier. All right, fourth is a list or a spreadsheet, and I got this idea from Thomas Corley, who wrote the article, Here's a Simple Strategy That Successful People Use to Remember Names, from Business Insider. And he said that a lot of more successful people use spreadsheets or they make lists of names. And here's just another list of just names that I have. Just for an example, that way you can remember names, or if you're going to like some event or something, you have the list of names so you know who you're going to see and who you're going to talk to. All right, and last, just end the conversation with a name. So that way when you leave the conversation and you leave the person, you'll have their name in your brain so you can remember it for next time. right, now that we've talked about the steps to remembering someone's name, let's move on to the awkward situation of forgetting someone's name and what to do there. But before I talk about forgetting someone's name, I want to talk a little bit about why we do forget people's names. And I have two theories on that. The first from the Northwestern psychology teacher, Paul Reber. He said that the brain just forgets. Sometimes we're just forgetful of things, dates, and sometimes just people's names. So that could be, he suggests that's one reason why we forget people's names. Another reason from Richard Harris, the K-State psychology teacher, he says it's just our level of interest. So maybe we don't find a person very important, so we don't remember their name when we see them later. All right. Now that we've kind of talked about why we don't remember people's names, I'm going to move on to the awkward situation of forgetting someone's name and kind of what to do there. Maggie Zhang, the author of What to Do If You Forget Someone's Name immediately after meeting them, suggests that you get their phone number or email. And since probably all of us have cell phones nowadays, it's easy just to hand over a cell phone and say, hey, can I have your number? And they're more likely to put their name in there too. So that's kind of almost a cheating kind of way to do it, but it's an effective way. And she also suggests that you could just be honest and say, hey, I forgot your name. And then they'll know that you're honest. All right, so just kind of to wrap everything up, we really talked about like the psychology behind learning people's names and why it's important to remember it, the steps to remembering a person's name, and what to do when you forget their name. So if I would have known this when I was talking to this girl that I had lunch with in Shocker Hall, it wouldn't have been weird, and we probably would still be friends by now, but I feel like she doesn't really want to talk to me anymore. Then I would feel like less